Right, Dan Swede with Hydrochem Systems here with Hydro Wash from Indiana. Tom and Sam here picking up their trailer today. All right, so basically, simple as that with your other power wash system.
Yeah.
We're using a triplex plunger pump. Nice part here, it's all laid out where your sight glass is easy to see. You always can check your pump oil, use general pump oil. They do approve synthetic oil also for the proper, well, you can check your manual on when it comes time. You got your vent cap and dipstick here. So if you couldn't see the sight glass, you also have a backup dipstick on here. It is a vent cap to help ventilate the unit. You see the oil is pretty crystal clear. When you do run and operate it, the connecting rod and everything that's running in there, it could foam up a little or kind of get a little cloudy. As long as it settles down and looks clear when you're done, you should be able to deal with that. We have guys that'll do this about every 100 hours. They'll change the pump oil. Pump manufacturers allow you to go 300 to 500 hours, depending on it. Really depends if you have a high humidity area or how long you run it at a time. Different when you're doing an hour a day than 8 hour a day running. Just like over-the-road trucks. I mean, different load factor. So just keep that. It's inexpensive. It's easy. What we've done is put drain hoses on here with a drain valve, so you don't have a drain plug and you're not trying to put a pan up and underneath the pump. So that makes it easy for you to drain your oil and no excuses. It's about 44 ounces of pump oil when it comes to changing this out. Number two, you end up, if you notice one thing really sweet that was engineered into this, you notice how the pump rails don't sit flush. When you have a flush mount pump rail, the pump can move because they have elongated slots in there. The nice part here, your belts are always perfectly aligned no matter what you do because the rails are sitting over the box frame itself. All you got to do is loosen these two nuts here. You got a tensioner bolt here, and that's it. So you can just loosen those two quick and easy and run the pump in and out. So you can adjust the belts quick and easy or change the pump. If you don't service it yourself, any service center is going to be like, wow, it's not 3 hours to change your belts or to service it. So it makes it a lot easier for you to get in and out. It's extremely well engineered. It shouldn't rust, it's stainless steel, everything else. So it's like the highest quality, probably the best upgrade on pumps in a long time when it comes to maintenance and service. The triple belt pump, all your belt guards also have capture nuts under the frame. So if you just take your little 3/8 inch little impact and electric one and pull all that out, it's easy to get to. Once again, you're not trying to reach up and under. We even have the brackets were built in order to have it so you don't, they used to have bolts up in here and then behind it. It's nice that you can, if you had to take it off for service, it's real easy to service. This is concentric board. It has better connecting rods, the newest series from the pump manufacturer. I had issues with other branded pumps where you get 200, 250 hours of life out of a set of packings. These would drive us crazy. These are about 1,880 hours with fresh water. So for the people that were paying $300, $350 to build their pump every couple hundred, major upgrade. Did a lot of case studies with these. Extremely blown away by the performance of the pumps.
I know I didn't get that much out of my first pump.
Shoot, that's packing, not even pump life. I have pump life that was left. That was just
packing.
Only packing life. Yeah. We had some other brands that the pump one lasted longer than the packings, huh?
What do you think pump life is, or what is pump life?
3,000 to 5,000 hours. That should be pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's why a little extra oil change every now and then doesn't hurt for the little bit you got on there. And the money you're going to make per hour is going to be a fraction of what you got to worry about.
Exactly.
You do have an inline fuel filter for the engine. Air filter's up top. No tools needed to get that off. And then you have an oil filter on the engine, pressure-fed oil system. Unlike the little smaller single-cylinder engines, tend to be splash-fed. So what we have is a oil filter, easy to get to. So what I recommend on the oil change is I'm a little kind of a semi-retired old fleet mechanic, heavy equipment, hydraulics, and everything, hardcore running in a different environment. You gotta appreciate this is a 896 cc, 31 horse, twin cylinder, big block. It's air cooled. Normal operating temperature is around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Think of throwing a turkey in an oven for 6 hours or 4 hours like you would have during a typical day. I mean, you're gonna have turkey, ready to go. So, a few things on that. Basically, you only have 2 quarts of engine oil and an oil filter. We always recommend the high temperature, good quality synthetic oil. And I go as much as, I normally recommend a 50-hour oil change. 50 hours you can get, you could tow this thing fully loaded from here to South Florida and back, and probably back down to your place in Indiana in 50 hours. I think I changed my oil by the time I finished that trip, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was only 2 quarts of oil in your truck, you would kind of freak out a little bit, wouldn't you? So bottom line, the nice part, and there's an hour meter, the nice part about the 50-hour oil change is, say it's Wednesday, you got 50, you could still wait till Saturday to schedule, get your oil change in, because you still have up to 100 hours of run time. The other thing some people will do is they'll change and I'm for it too, they change oil every 50 and they replace the oil filter every 100. And it's easy enough to keep track of that on your hour meter every 100, 200, 300, 400 hour, although.
So you don't have to change the filter every time you change the
No, 50 hours. The filter is going to be more than enough. And when I get guys that average 4,500 hours out of this, that do a little extra maintenance for 2 quarts of oil, just find a good sale on them by a couple cases and just, or whatever, and get it done. So, but you can do it if you're like lazy, or not lazy, but just leisure about it. You can do 100-hour oil changes. It is approved. I just like, if you do 100-hour and you don't get to it, now you got 100, 140 hours on it, and now you're pushing it. So it just is a good reminder to run that. And like I said, to get more than twice the life of a typical like Honda engine or something is amazing. You do have a oil alert system on here.
Low.
Yeah, and then don't rely on it. I mean, just because then you're just going to blow your engine up or do damage before that goes off. Obviously, you got the choke, ignition switch, electric start engine. I tend to go light on the choke. Every time I choke too much first and it gets a little warm, you'll follow the plug. This thing is real quick starting, and especially now, but you almost always have to choke it. And the other part, we actually run an Italian brushless generator on this. It's not a brush type, which is a little more troublesome and don't last as long. It's kind of like when you go to Home Depot, you wonder how in the heck can they have a 3,000 watt generator for $350 when this generator probably costs $800, just for the generator, not even including an engine. A lot of times that shortcut is just designed for a contractor that don't put 30, 40 hours a week on them. I mean, it might be once a month using it, but in reality, I don't believe, you can ask parts, I don't think we've ever replaced one of these generators yet. It's huge. I may be wrong, maybe something slid by, but overall, I've never heard a complaint about it either. We did have at one time where the previous generator was brushless, and we had to get the brush type. It was tough. Thank God we were able to get this. And it was dumb because it was such an indestructible generator, the first ones we had. But the manufacturer discontinued it. I guess they want that repeat business, so this one is amazing. 2,900 watts, so bottom line is the power is coming off the generator. It's running directly to the burner, so it's allowing, not direct, there's safety switches. It's powering your 115 volt burner system. And you have 2 plugs right up in here. I don't know if you can see it. There's 2 115 volt plugs here. So you got one for the transfer pump and one for the vacuum portion of the recycling system. And I'm just going to switch these 2 around. The vacuum, because a lot of time with that 110 transfer pump, at the end of the day, you can just plug that into an outlet and let it run through. You don't have to run the power washer until the tank drains. And then, though they're live all the time, so everything's on demand if needed. You got a 1000 co cranking amp deep cycle battery in the battery box. Want to keep that, well, we do run the transfer pump off that in the starter, so it isn't real high limit, it isn't really overloaded. I don't believe in a 12 volt burner on anything more than 4 or 5 gallon a minute. It's just too taxing and they don't last long, in my opinion. So bottom line, you have that. Now some of the other key features that are really important and kind of neatly configured on this. Anytime you got an engine-driven pressure washer, normally it's a positive displacement pump. So every time the engine rotates, it's rotating the pump, and it's actually pumps. There's no way. This doesn't have a clutch disconnect, and we do have power washers that do that for the fleet wash. So the positive displacement pump, if I was to shut off the pump and didn't have some kind of regulator, it would actually make the pump blow up like a grenade. So basically that's controlled by an unloader valve or pressure relief valve. Normally it's called an unloader valve. We have other really, and we run a high volume.
Yeah. I've got one.
Yeah, the green?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're,
oh yeah.
yeah, we had another one that said, oh, this is better, this is great, we're gonna do this. It was probably cost saving.
Like no other.
Oh my God, yeah, prior to these, I've gone back like 30 years with these, and I don't remember two go bad in a row. We had 14 of the little black spring knob ones. They're supposed to be rated like 8.9. They went bad in 4 hours, and they were all over the country. We were like, oh man, we ate it. We had to do what we had to do. Spent the extra money and put these on. I'll never go away from them.
Yeah, I won't either. I replaced the black ones. I replaced, I don't know how many. It was 4 or 5 months apart. And I went back, like, what's going on? Like, I know not to bang on the trigger.
Yeah, even times. It should be able to handle it.
They put me with that last year, or at the beginning of the season, and it's still.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, don't mess with perfection, you know. But what we have too is we actually have like a JIC fitting up in here between the two. So if I needed to take and service the unloader, I just spin that off, and the whole unloader comes off. It isn't like you're kind of cranking. It's got the swivel on the connector there. So it's really easy to remove the unloader. Now, you notice the whole cluster, we actually have a pressure switch attached to it. So the pressure switch, no pressure, no heat. Everything is to protect against a steam explosion. I have a steam explosion on my YouTube channel. If you just search steam explosion, I'll show it to you. It'll blow your mind if you've ever seen one. And there was a little electric 1000 PSI pressure washer. They allowed the heater to superheat. It hit 14,000 pounds of steam pressure, and when it finally blew up, the whole machine flipped up in the air, flipped over, all the insulation, all the housing, everything blew apart, the burner system flew off it. It was, honestly, to simulate it, I probably think you need 1 or 2 sticks of dynamite in there to do what that did. So that's why having all these redundant safety devices, and no one's actually had, I don't think had more than we have here. So the pressure switch, no pressure, no heat. We have a flow switch, which is back here. Now, it actually feels the actual flow going through the heating coil, not the bypass system, but through the heating coil, which is being heated. So if you have no flow, you shut the gun off, the heater will shut off. So no pressure, no flow, shuts off. And back here is where we tie the thermostat control, which is technically an adjustable high limit switch, which is another safety device preventing it from superheating into steam and beyond. So that's on the control panel. So that's 3 electrical switches. One, the thermostat is actually controlling your diesel fuel, so it shuts your fuel on and off with the thermostat. The other 2 switches shut off your electrical spark. So we actually have backup systems. So say something happened here and it caught fire or some little short or something happened, and it was still like superheating or energizing, you still have another redundant system to shut the burner off. And then above and beyond that, The heating coil is actually robotic welded. My dad used to be a nuclear power plant welder fabricator. I've never seen welding like that machine did when I went to the factory. Holy cow. It was in an encased area, so the atmosphere was perfect, everything. You didn't have to worry about wind or humidity. But what it turned out is we were able to, this exceeds about 40% stronger heating coil than industry standard on good quality brand machine, not just cheap stuff. So the coil's phenomenal. Number two, not two, but this right here, this hose barb looking thing is a steam burst relief valve. This will pop off if your steam pressure exceeds 8,000 pounds of pressure. And they popped off before. I mean, every now and then it will pop. And
Shut it down.
just shut it down. What'll happen too, with the guys doing a lot of sidewalk cleaning, with our 48-inch surface cleaner and a beast like this, you can actually get 100 feet down a sidewalk in 2 minutes. And 4 foot wide, the whole path.
Oh, yeah.
And what you're doing is when you're running, you're cleaning, you're running, you're cleaning, and sometimes you kind of run low on water, but because you're moving the vehicle under pressure, the water could move away from the inlet suction line, and you might get a ball of air in there. Now, you know what I mean? And that might go to steam. So a lot of times if it happens, it could be just, hey, low on water, just fill your tank back up, replace your steam relief valve. My suggestion in a big way is get a socket that'll fit this. If not, the wrench side that'll go on this thing and you try to move it in there. Been there, done that. After hours one day when the toolboxes were locked up and we had to get in there, it took like 40 minutes to get the dumb thing off with a big wrench. So yeah, at that point it was too late to even go get a socket. So highly recommend that. So basically that's your steam burst relief valve, which is right there. They also call it a steam diaphragm or burst diaphragm. Speed up the code. All the unleaded fuel tanks are now black. They have a locking gas cap, so it's not vented anymore. There is actually, to get certified for carb emission, they allow you to go up to like 8 or 10 gallons. It's a pain in the butt to get 18 gallon, which is this tank's an 18 gallon diesel. What we had to do is incorporate 2 carbon filters instead of 1. 1 is more than enough, not for carb emission EPA. So we have dual carbon emissions. I never had to replace one yet. I don't even know what the symptom would be if this thing got clogged up. It's just vapor, but if need be. So you do have everything. You can go to California with this code and emission and you're good to go anywhere in the country. So we have that. So that's why you see a lot of 8 gallon tanks or other ones, and if they're not, they're probably not officially code certified, carb certified. You also have an 18 gallon diesel tank. Just remember, don't put diesel in the gasoline. It'll damage the engine pretty catastrophically. Gas in the diesel fuel, you can blow a hole right through the side of the burner.
Oh, wow.
I've actually got some pictures of it.
Like real big.
Yeah, I actually want to get better stickers myself here. I mean, it's marked here, but I don't think that's really good enough. But the key is you want to be careful, and
workers don't care.
Yeah, they're like, I didn't do it, and then you open up the gas cap or the diesel, and you feel that, so you got to be a little cautious, make sure they understand. I kind of love when this used to be red for gasoline.
See, that's what mine is, red for gas and black for, green.
Gasoline should be red and black for diesel. So yeah, now you got a little bit of error there, so be careful what you do, and just know not to mix them two up. So number 2, so we're good. Any questions on any? There's also, like I said, the cluster is kind of convenient here. So that one's a flow switch. Below it here is a pressure relief valve, pop off. It's rated for about 4,500 PSI. So if the unloader is starting to act up or over pressurized, that'll pop. Normally you should be good to go. If you got a pressure gauge and test gauge and you know everything's good and that thing's popping off a little prematurely, it is adjustable a little bit, because after about a year, not right away, but in a year or so, if all of a sudden the spring pressure gets a little light and your pressures are good on the system, there's an Allen wrench on the bottom, like a quarter turn maybe. Just don't go cuckoo on it because it is doing its job. Just like I said, this may pop because it had air in it, or the steam relief may pop because you're running into a steam scenario. So I always say if you did replace this, and all of a sudden you're good to go for another year. But if you replace it and it pops again, holy crap, shut it down, drive it right to a shop and figure out what's going on, why it's superheating. And then your bypass, what is our coal bypass, the way we can run from house to house, is already built into the unloader. So they're the hose behind here, going right back to the supply tank. So when you're trying to get from place to place for 2, 3, 5 minutes away, you can run that, and only cool water is going back. It's not after it's heated.
Okay.
And so this cool bypass is already built in, it's done. Let me just show you over here because this happens all the time.
How much hose is on there, high pressure?
200 foot of high pressure hose, yeah.
200 foot.
Yeah, you got 50 back here, but you have to get a couple more 50s we threw in. This bypass here, to start the machine,
Always keep it on.
and to turn it off. So I tend, like now, it's good if you leave it open and some kid comes playing around or whatever, they're not going to have pressure, you know what I mean? But it's also good so you can start the motor, and it's okay to use this to to cool the burner off. So after you shut the burner off, come back and open the valve, or right before you do. Here's a big part that'll do some damage. The machine's hot, and you got hot water in this manifold here. If you open a bypass going from house to house, this is a confusion I get a couple guys that have done. Now you're pumping 200 degree, 180, whatever degree hot water back to your supply tank, which is now going to heat the supply water up very quickly. Now you're going to put hot water, extremely hot, into your pump, into your heating coil again. Now you're going to start to superheat the water. So the biggest key is this should be on for no longer than 1 minute when you start the machine and when you shut it off. Right. Now, if the machine's hot and everything's packed up and you're trying to cool the unit off, you can either open it with a gun and cool it off, or you can, especially if the burner's off, you can open this and let that hot water just circulate for a minute. It's not going to do anything as long as you got water in the supply tank. But know this to be on and off only, not between houses. And I kind of get frustrated because people will do that every now and then. So at this point, I like leaving it open. So if you're cooling it off and shutting it down for the day or lunch or whatever you decide to cool the burner off, when you come back in the morning, you already got it open. So you can start the engine and you're good to go. Like I said, and it's not a bad idea if you do shut the high pressure hose up, reel off, is to make sure you release the pressure on that.
Yeah.
Which is easy enough too. You don't even have to do the gun. You can just kind of with the valve open, just release that, boom, boom. Now if a little, like I probably would have done to my sister, is grab a gun and try to shoot her with it. You know what I mean? When I was 4 or 5 years old, you're not going to have an injury issue there. We have the injector on quick disconnects here. The reason for that is twofold. One, when you look at the injector itself, if you look through the hole, I don't know if you can even see any light at all.
Not really.
But it's basically it's a pinhole in there, a little over that. Highly restrictive. So with a disconnect, what you can do is just run this. Take the injector off here. You can put it now on the hose reel back here. So we put disconnects on both.
That way you can run it up here.
Yeah, you can see how just putting that connector on stopped the water flow, because it's barely dripping now. So yeah, by having this on here, you can actually draw soap from
what's
the
that
high pressure
Is
rod.
it automatically cut it to?
What you do is you put a low pressure tip, and you're going to get about a 10 to 1 dilution.
10 to 1. Okay, that's about that.
So basically, but what I don't like to do is that 9 gallon a minute 3,500, you want that kick and power. When you put this on, you're down to about 6.6 gallon a minute. So if you're gonna degrease a parking area, a parking lot, and then want to start to use a 48 inch or something to pressure wash it, take it off, because you're going to actually double your clean. Almost every gallon a minute more increases your speed about 100% on concrete cleaning. So actually you can get 100, 200% more speed by getting rid of the injector. That's why we spent the money on the stainless coupling to make sure you got it on there. So just in general, so what's nice too with that back reel is you can dedicate that as your, like a chemical reel, you know, also. If you're doing drive-throughs and other things. I'll leave it.
How much is that one? How long is that one? What, 60 inches?
It does draw a lot of soap. More soap than normal on that, so in comparison. All right, so bottom line, go back to keeping it simple here. You have your inlet hose reel. We got hose reel guides on all of it, so it takes side to side, make it easy to roll your hose up. You got lock pin, and you got a drag button here too, where if you want to have a little bit of a
drag on the
yeah, keep it from tight, like recoiling or rolling off.
Yeah.
So you don't have to always lock the pin, but it'll help do it. You can adjust it a little bit for that. So both of those have it. Your lock pins are here on the left. And they do lock open when you want them open. You put them on the upper lobe right there. I know that sounds simple, but 200 foot of hose. You can put a little more hose on here, but I like keeping 200. 200, you don't want it to drop in pressure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is good to go. Those are self-explanatory. Now we do have two pressure lines coming off the burner. So everything is live, as Tim found out. So typically your pressure is always going to be live. So you have to have a gun or a ball valve to shut that off. The manifold, the whole manifold assembly is live. So you have left head, right head, or the hose reel live, or you can bypass it there. So if your bypass is open and you try to use the gun, obviously you're not going to have any pressure.
Got a question real fast. Can you put a 4 gallon minute tip in that one and that one?
Yes.
And run both lines?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, 4.5 gallon.
4.5 gallon, yeah.
Yep. So if you're doing a 7-Eleven for the first time and you're popping off a few hundred pieces of chewing gum and soap,
Yeah.
you both can be
Get 2
doing
out there and knock it out.
knock them both out, and then if one gun's open and one gun's off and back and forth, you really barely notice
feel
a
the-
spike. It's a dead unloader, it's a balanced unloader, so it allows it to adjust for the flow ratio. You can even have a 7-gallon tip. Say you're feeling about how much power the 9 had, but you don't want to go down to a 4.5. You're by yourself. If you want to put a 7-gallon nozzle on there, or an 8-gallon, or 6, you can do it and have the exact flow and pressure you want to work with all day long.
Yeah.
So that does help you. Now, if you were going to do a 4.5-gallon nozzle by yourself all day, just popping gum, and you want the extra water to get on the storefront windows or something, lower your temperature slightly on the thermostat, because you might get a peak in temp, because those are called steam nozzles. Most of the econo machines out there that claim 200, 250 degrees at 8 gallon a minute, they're using a steam nozzle, which could be a 4 or 5 gallon, 6 gallon nozzle. They're reducing the flow so they can get the steam. So reality, it's not always max temperature at 8 gallon, max flow, max pressure. It's kind of one or the other, you know what I mean? So this one actually will produce it all. We tested with a drum, and we'll be anywhere by average from 8.7 to 9 gallon a minute under pressure after the heating coil. So it's actually tested through the system. You do have that inlet filter right here. This is actually a filter going from your clean water supply tank or recycled clean water to here to your pressure, which goes into the 3-way valve, which I'll show you again. So inlet filter here, 1.5 inches, supply line. Right now, this air is showing it coming from the tank. If you put it up here, it's actually sucking from your winterizing tank. Always try to remember to keep this open, which is even with the level.
So when winterizing it, we're going to put all of our stuff in there. Flip that.
Yeah, so if you have, what we use is a 30 below windshield washer
Yep.
fluid. It's less money. So this be full of whatever blue or purple colored windshield washer solution. When you run it, you'll see it. That's why we went with this clear line. Now this is amazing hose, believe it or not. It sounds like corny what you're talking about a hose about.
I mean,
This will not kink. I could take this hose and bend it around and it will never kink. Not only that, if you stepped on it, that other hose with the wire around it and the white link, if you step on it, it'll flatten out and you cannot get it to unflatten. So we made this a lot more industrial. Expensive to be a dealer for them, but it's pressure and vacuum hose. So it's actually perfect hose assembly. And this is your line going to your pump. So if you got the windshield washer fluid and it's blue, you can actually follow through the system to make sure it's winterizing it all.
Okay.
What you'll do normally is you want to be quick, and remember the built-in bypass when you're winterizing, you can just dump this whole tank right back to your supply tank and bypass because it's in the pump. When you decide to do your winterizing, my suggestion is have a couple carts over the hopper. You can do it without if no one's around, but bottom line, for safety reasons, have a barrel or a cart. What I would do is actually open up a cleaning head, have everything else pressurized instead of the bypass, because your bypass is going to dump the water back. Right. If you have the head open or open a gun up here, but actually you want the head, fire up the machine, it'll go through the coil, it'll go through the manifold, through the ball valve, to the cleaning head. When you see the blue stuff coming out while you're back there, shut it off immediately, open up the second head right away, which is going to be live. Your water, all your antifreeze went through the coil now and up through the line. So it'll almost be instantly you're going to get the winterizing solution through the second head. Now, shut it off, both valves off, come back, and either you could shut off the line. If you have air available, what you can do then is you just charge both head and manifold and all. Instead of winterizing your pressure washer hoses, with that disconnect on the side of the reel, you can connect an air chuck to a quick disconnect and blow air and just blow out the hose of air.
Yeah.
And then you can connect another air chuck right here with a garden hose adapter and blow this out. This will get all the water out or most of the water out and get it back to the tank. So the same with your hose reel on the back of the trailer here. You also have that other connector here where the injector is. So you can blow air here too. So it's nice if you got an air tank